Refund is another good one. Recall, return to the live stream, reimagine, remember, or reborn would be rebirth, wouldn't it? Redome apple, reconnect, resurrection, recorneo, redacted, recreation, rewind, relapse. We released a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer breakdown that was filled with spoilers for the entire story of Final Fantasy VII Original. A lot of people in the comments have been asking, hey, is it possible that you could make a spoiler-free video, because they want to enjoy theory crafting and seeing what things could be happening. Because let's remember, yes, Final Fantasy VII did come out over 25 years ago. However, it is a lot of people's first time getting into the story, and they don't necessarily want to be spoiled of everything. I fully get and understand and respect that. However, I do recommend, if you're watching this, please play the original Final Fantasy VII. It's available everywhere on Steam, Nintendo Switch, PlayStations, Xbox. You can get the original Final Fantasy VII right now anywhere and play it, and it still holds up. It's good. Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is in the works right now. However, we don't know what it's going to be called. Leave a comment below what you think the title is going to be. I love reading what you guys have to say. And of course, drop a like on the video. Let's get this one to over 1,000 likes. The spoiler-free review of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer. And also make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out, because only 30% of you guys who watch and love these videos are currently subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. It's totally free. You don't want to miss out on any of these updates coming your way. Not to mention, Final Fantasy VII fans, we are giving away a PlayStation 5 this Thursday, June 30th. If you are a member on Twitch, or if you're a member on YouTube, you are entered into the giveaway to win. So good luck with that. I want to see you guys in the chat, so hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on it. You don't want your name to be called and you're not there and you didn't get a chance to claim this PlayStation 5. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on this. This is a disc-based version PS5. It's very important, guys. Now let's get back into the video.
What we've done, that's set in stone. The past is forever, but the future, even if it has been written, can be changed. So focus on the future, not the past.
Aerith saying that, to me, it really comes off initially it comes off as a disclaimer, right, towards the viewers, towards the players, to let them know that, hey, what they've already done, that's already set in stone. The past is the past. However, they have an opportunity now to change the future and have a different outcome from whatever happened in the original game and future parts of Final Fantasy VII Remake. So initially, that's just telling us that things are going to be different going forward. There's just going to be a bunch of new elements introduced. But overall, according to Kitase and Nomura's statements, they have said previously that, hey, they do want to keep the game reaching all the elements and pieces of the story that we all know and love from the original game. And that's just a big focus for them. Nojima has also chimed in on that as well in a previous interview. It does seem like it's letting us know, like, hey, some things along the way are going to change. Don't be alarmed. Enjoy the ride and just have a good one. As we see a feather fall from the top of... You guys look back right here, right? This is underneath the plate of Midgar. You know, Midgar is huge. Right now, Cloud and Zack are walking underneath the plate. You can see the Mako stream is flying from it. There's a bunch of birds. And there's a feather that falls from the sky. I know we're not spoilering anything, but this feather has a very significant meaning to it. If you played the original Crisis Core game, which is the prequel of Final Fantasy VII that follows Zack's story in the series, the white feather has big significance with it, so feel free to check that out. I also like how after Aerith says that statement about the past being the past and we can focus on changing the future, it showcases the Meteor coming into contact with the Earth. This was a very common flashback that was affecting Cloud and the party in Remake Part 1 that we kept seeing show up over and over again. So we're definitely going to be seeing some elements in Rebirth revolving around the Meteor and what its effect on the planet will be, what its significance within the story is going to be, and just overall, I mean, it's in the goddamn logo. What will become of the planet? A very good question. This is obviously going to be a running theme for Rebirth. Rebirth, we're going to be finding out what the hell is going to be happening with the planet. We know Sephiroth and Jenova, their plans and the reason why they came here is to take over the planet, to use it as their vessel, to travel to and from other planets and collect them, essentially infect them and collect them. This is going to be a question and running theme asked throughout Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and hopefully we'll figure it out. What will become of the planet also pertains to Shinra. Shinra is constantly sucking Mako, the planet's live stream energy, and utilizing it as an energy source to power electricity and various other things around the planet that also is hurting it at the end of the day. In the original Final Fantasy VII, the initial bad guy that we are introduced to is Shinra, and we are technically eco-terrorists that are trying to overthrow them and stop them from hurting the planets. Eventually, when we learn about Sephiroth and the future other plans that they have in store for the planet, Shinra ends up becoming like sort of an afterthought in a lot of ways, whereas Sephiroth becomes the main focus, which is a pretty cool element about Final Fantasy VII that I really enjoy, is the constant switch of, yeah, Shinra is the bad guy. We got to look for them. We got to find out what they're doing. And then it turns out, hey, by the way, there's another greater evil that's significantly scarier. We need to keep that in check. We need to pay attention to them. That's not a spoiler, right? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they talk about that in Remake. My nose hairs are long as hell right now, man. I should have shaved them bitches. It's tickling me. The trailer cuts to Cloud walking in the wilderness over here by Nibelheim. This is a flashback that's in the original Final Fantasy VII. Not gonna go too much into this because this obviously does have a lot of spoilers, but it's essentially Cloud explaining his story and his origins of meeting with Sephiroth and going on a mission with Sephiroth and overall interacting with him in the past. And then Sephiroth, of course, walks into the shot, which is absolutely amazing. I know a lot of people are thinking that Sephiroth is playable in this particular instance here, but I don't think that's the case. We're still controlling Cloud. This is just a cinematic camera move in order to create emphasis and a nice reveal, honestly, because if you look at this, this is a very good way to reveal where exactly we are, because without Sephiroth being in this scene, this just looks like Cloud is walking around somewhere in the wilderness, right? You don't really get an idea of what exactly is going on and what's happening here.
Finish what he started.
Until you see Sephiroth walk into frame.
To reclaim his birth.
Then you put two and two together and you think about, oh, when was there an opportunity for Cloud and Sephiroth to work together or to be like walking by each other essentially? And if you play the original game, it's not really a spoiler, but Cloud basically tells the party his story on how he met Sephiroth, how it was working with him and going on this mission to Mount Nibel to inspect a Mako reactor with him. So it's a really cool way that they utilize the camera and also Sephiroth walking in to sort of tell the viewers exactly where we are in this particular moment.
Right. And rule over the planet with Jenova at his side.
The whole Jenova at his side thing, I don't necessarily think that is the case. I think it's the other way around. I think Jenova wants to rule the planet with Sephiroth at her side. Sephiroth is very powerful. Jenova is also very powerful, but ultimately Jenova is the dark harbinger that goes from planet to planet trying to take it over and make it their own. Once after Cloud says what he said, we get a close-up shot of freeze frames of Sephiroth's eye. This is Sephiroth's hair right here. His bangs going over his eyes, being very Jenova-fied. We get another shot of what I would assume is the lower base area of Jenova that's inside of a containment facility. And then we get Jenova to get shown up here inside of the containment tube that was inside the Shinra building. And then back to Sephiroth as we get more flashes of his eyes. And then the game wants us to question, what is Sephiroth's endgame? What is he aiming for? What's he trying to do? No, he's trying to take over the planet. We know he's trying to do all these crazy things, but why is this Sephiroth showing up so much earlier in Remake than the Final Fantasy VII original Sephiroth did in the original game? This Sephiroth has different motives. This Sephiroth is trying to do different things. Ultimately, things are going to be changing up from the original game, but it's not going to be too drastic to the point where it just isn't Final Fantasy VII anymore. And once again, I highly recommend you guys, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII Original and you played Remake and it's your first time getting into the series, I can't recommend it enough. Play the original game. It's a very good game. It holds up well and you won't be disappointed.
I saw you lying there. I figured it was too late.
Wait, what are you implying? That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter?
This is two pieces of dialogue from two different conversations here. We hear Cloud saying a piece of dialogue from the Calm flashback about how he had seen Tifa lying on the ground and he thought it was too late to save her, so he carried on about his day. And Tifa's response doesn't necessarily mesh well with what Cloud said. It's clearly a different part of a conversation, a different conversation than the current one that Cloud is talking to. It's definitely a different reply to something else, And also, it could be to not even Cloud. It could be towards another party member. We just don't know at the moment. I'm coming to the same conclusion that these conversations are not happening at the same time. They're being shown to us as that's being the case, but that's totally not the case. It's very different moments of the story that these conversations are happening.
I figured it was too late.
Wait, what are you implying? That I died? That I'm some kind of imposter?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to what Cloud is saying. Cloud didn't say any of those things. So this is definitely a different conversation that they're having. And as they get up to the end over here, we see Cloud and Sephiroth get to a cinematic view of Mount Nebel, where they get to see the mountain peaks and the jagged, rough edges and the different facilities that are up there. Because in the story, they're coming here to investigate a Mako reactor. They've heard some rumors about the Mako reactor acting up. They're here to inspect it and just make sure everything is okay and that things are just going fine. After the scene plays out, we do see a bunch of flashes from moments within the Final Fantasy VII Advent Children movie. These are scenes directly from that film. What is fact and what is fiction? So another thing that the game is trying to portray to us is there are some things that some people are saying or doing that may be presented as the fact or the truth, but it actually isn't. And there are other things that may seem like they're true, but it's actually fiction. So that's going to be another big theme for this game. It's trying to figure out what the hell is going on, who's telling the truth, who is lying.
You were here with me 5 years ago. Where are you? What happened to you?
If you listen to Cloud's dialect, it's very similar to Cloud when he's talking to himself, or Cloud's voice inflections pre-Mako infused. It just sounds like Cloud's inner dialogue talking to himself, because clearly he's referencing Zack. 5 years ago, him and Zack, where they went to a location together, and he's wondering, where did Zack go? Where could he have disappeared to? Cloud is clearly talking to himself because nobody else is going to be able to identify what he's saying. Cloud wouldn't expect Aerith or Tifa or anybody else to be able to reference what he's talking about there. And also, if we look at the Japanese trailer, Cloud specifically says Zack's name here. The English version doesn't say Zack, because I think that there's a running theme that they're trying to omit Zack's name from being mentioned out loud in the English version, because every time Cloud has mentioned Zack's name, like with Aerith at the Sector 5 Slums Park, he gets a headache. He gets a headache when he hears Aerith say it, or it's Jenova trying to suppress his memories. It's very difficult for him to mention Zack or think about him. I think it's weird that the Japanese and German version didn't do that, but the English version did.
I'm trying so hard to find you.
Aerith saying, "I'm trying so hard to find you" right there, I initially thought it was a reference towards Zack, because at the end of the game, it can be viewed as she's looking for him, she's trying to find him somehow. However, a lot of people have brought to my attention that this actually could be the Gold Saucer date that Cloud and Aerith end up going on later on in the story. It's an option in the original game where you can sort of, depending on your choices throughout the game, you can go on a Gold Saucer date with Tifa, Aerith, Yuffie, or Barret. The default choice is Aerith, because by default her points are at 50 and I think Tifa's are at 30. But as you meet Tifa and the more you interact with her, you can actually increase those points higher in order to go on the Gold Saucer date with her instead. But during the Gold Saucer date with Aerith, she does mention the Cloud. She's trying to find the real him, or she's trying to see the real him, or she wants to know the real him. So this dialogue of her saying,
I'm trying so hard to find you,
overall to me now screams Golden Saucer. I think that is definitely the Gold Saucer date, because what a lot of games and a lot of movie trailers do nowadays, they try to create misdirection. They try to misdirect the viewers into thinking one thing is happening and then something completely different is actually happening. Like, all these conversations are clearly happening at different times throughout the game. It's not all going to be within the same chapter or within the same moments of each other. Like, Cloud's inner monologue dialogue with himself will most likely be when he gets to Nibelheim, whereas Aerith is probably talking at the Gold Saucer. And then up next, we have Zack say something.
Sorry. Feel like I failed you.
Sorry, I feel like I failed you, as they're walking into the Midgar. I don't know, this is probably Sector 6. Sector 6 fell down a couple years back and it's under construction. Sorry, I feel like I failed you could be Zack reminiscing about Angeal. It could be Zack. Maybe he sees Tifa in the distance and he remembers what happened to Tifa. Is too ashamed to go up and talk to her. Could be feeling remorse in a way. Anything, essentially. Maybe even Cloud. Maybe when he gets into Midgar, he drops off Cloud somewhere, and as he's leaving him, Cloud is like really unresponsive and he's worried, And he's just like, sorry, I feel like I failed you. Or it could be him talking about Aerith, because Aerith did send him a bunch of letters back in the day trying to reach out to him while he was missing. And Zack sort of feels guilty in a way because maybe he feels like he led her on or he gave her false hope. It's interesting. It's interesting to see where they're going to take Rebirth. And then we have the title reveal, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And the red in Rebirth, to me, because if you look here, it's also on the Meteor. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is going to be a red materia, an entirely red materia, red logo, to symbolize the Meteor coming into contact with Gaia or coming down closer. But also, if we go back a little bit, we talked about this in the previous one. There's a character named Genesis who has a sword. And Genesis's sword, when he activates it, he rubs his hand against it like this. He creates this effect. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up right here in another window to show you guys. This isn't really a spoiler right here.
The world needs a new hero.
It has that same similar effect. It's very similar. Genesis, he's represented with red. The name Genesis means the beginning of something. The beginning of something can also be referred to as the birth of something. So the rebirth could essentially be the regenesis. Maybe Genesis is coming back in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and he's going to be having a bigger focus in this one with the party and many other people. Ultimately, that's what I think. Probably has multiple overlapping meanings. Most definitely, Panda, they've gone out of their way to make sure that with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and of course, the third unnamed title, Kitase himself is saying that the titles essentially mean so much more. And Nomura has also confirmed this as well. There's a reason why it's called Remake. There's a reason why it's called Rebirth. The third title is going to have something with re in it. We don't know what it could be. Could be Revival, be Requiem. Could be not really a re word, so I don't think it will be Requiem. I think it'll be re something. Revive, Revival. Reunion would have been amazing. But I don't know why they decided to put Reunion at the title, in the title of Crisis Core. To me, it doesn't make sense for Crisis Core to have Reunion in it. I do hope that that won't matter and they actually end up going with Reunion, because I think Reunion would fit with theme, with 5 to 6 letter words. Regenesis. That's technically Rebirth. Rebirth is Regenesis. Refund is another good one. Recall, return to the live stream, reimagine. Remember, or reborn would be rebirth, wouldn't it? Re-dumb apple, reconnect, resurrection, re-corneo, redacted, recreation, rewind, relapse. You know, rewind would be hilarious, because I was thinking, what if Rebirth goes all the way through, it goes all the way to the end of disc 1, something crazy happens, and then part 3 like restarts it all. Like something happens where, I don't know, Singularity gets disrupted, Cloud gets sent back, and he's aware of all the things that needs to happen and has to happen in the story, and he can't change anything. So he's just running, we're just running through the original story all over again, but Cloud is just aware of what's happening. Regurgitate, retcon, redeem, redemption. That would be like a Sephiroth redemption type of thing. I don't know if they would go that route. It depends on what they're doing with the story. Revenge, I don't know. Revenge seems like it'd be like a sequel or the first title name, in my opinion. I feel like Reunion is like perfect, bro. It's too perfect. They can't fumble the bag that hard. Part 3 would come out technically 3 or 4 years after Crisis Core Reunion has already been out, so I don't think it'll be too big of a deal. It's rewind time. But that's my breakdown, my hopefully spoiler-free version of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's trailer that was showcased to us a few weeks ago. Sorry for taking so long to put this together, guys. We've been insanely busy. I just moved into a new home. This is a new office I'm talking to you guys from. Hello, chat. As you can see, this is an entirely new setup. I do appreciate you guys bearing with me. I did see over 100 comments of people saying that they hope that I do a spoiler-free version because they would love to watch it and check it out and maybe see new elements and talk to the chat in that aspect, right?